welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. We are the Dadley Boyz of What Culture. I'm Adam Wilborn, joined by Michael Hamflett and Michael Sidgwick here to review everything that happened in last night's episode of AEW Dynamite. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube, where we do daily wrestling podcasts where we not only review AEW Dynamite, but also AEW Collision, Raw, SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0. Pay-per-views, premium live events. We have interviews, roundtable discussions, and a roundup of the week complete. A quiz, of course, on Wrestle Culture. As I said, though, joined by Hamflett and Sidgwick to review Dynamite, a very eventful show with lots of new stuff on there as well, Sidge.
Indeed. What's this email? I don't know what to do.
We'll talk about the impromptu match element of the start of the show in a little while.
Yes.
I got a lovely email from Matthew, I believe it was, who contacted me about this. But what do you reckon to the new looks, to the new theme, etc.?
The new theme will take a while to get used to. It's not exactly the music that I gravitate towards generally. If I like heavy music, it has to be a bit harder than this. It's a bit butty. If I like I like a lot of different kind of music. When I like hard music, I like really hard music. Big fan of hardcore. This is a bit wrestling heavy for me. Obviously, time will tell if it will become as iconic or as memorable. One thing on the opening credit is like it's not long enough. By the time you start, like maybe it'll come to me, but by the time you start, like going, it gets you fired up. It's like the big rock concert of wrestling. It should be this, but it's just not ultimately long enough as an intro for it to register.
It's no boom, let's go ignite.
It isn't yet. Maybe it'll become as iconic. Who the hell knows? But yeah, it just feels like as an intro, I would like it to go a little bit longer. Generally, like
TV says no to that now, doesn't it? Like
Yeah.
across the board, like everything gets shorter.
I just want to strap in, but I didn't get the chance to strap in. I'm mixed on the set/ring in that, kind of like my thoughts on Dynamite on the whole. One of it was awesome, and the other was in that I love the tunnels. I tweeted last night that the new tunnel setup this is the third set. This is what the second set should have looked like all along. Just a really sharp, more expensive looking, vivid update on what was already a really cool physical design distinct to AEW. It just looks so goddamn sleek and clean and futuristic. A huge, huge fan. This should have been the second set all along. I don't know what the hell they were thinking the first time around, but, better late than never.
Yes.
It's what the second set should have looked like all along. So when they're coming out, it just looks great. Again, the word is just sleek. It looks sleek.
And the EVPs have their own entrance.
Well, we'll get on that later. We will cover that later. Unbelievable. When you get to the ring, like, I didn't expect a return to the guardrails. It's those suits. It's got to be some kind of Warner-imposed
Standards and practices.
Oh, God.
It's got to be
Those
some.
guys.
It's got to be some kind of directive. I think if it was completely, wholly, entirely up to Tony Khan, his old school minded ways, he would have gone with the guardrail. So much nicer. Well, probably not the word. To watch people bump into a guardrail, it's got that nice clanging metallic effect. It just looks more brutal. It looks less like WWE, which is the principal aim, or at least it should be. So I'm not a fan that much of how it looks in the ring, but I was realistic ahead of I knew you were going to keep the LED. It's sadly something I've come to accept. I'll get used to it. Look, on the Discord, AEW had lots of different colours first, actually. So just get a bit defensive about that. It did look a little bit 2.0, even though they got there before 2.0.
Yes.
On the ringside bit, at least, if that makes any sense. But no, if you go into it with a sense of acceptance, like it's a death, then yeah, looks great when they're coming out to the ring. And I'll get used to what it looks like because I've kind of have for quite some time anyway.
I love a change even when it's a bad one. Like even when it's a misfire, I like a change on a wrestling show. Honestly, I think we've talked before about like WWE's insistence that even when they change a set or a graphic or whatever, fundamentally, stylistically, Raw's been the same since 1997.
I like the SmackDown parentheses.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Should have kept that.
Yeah. So any change, because then even like the bad ones can sort of end up good. It's like escape ramp.
Yes, I was going to mention that.
Like 2.0 we loved it because we needed it, because we survived the Capital Wrestling Centre. We'd earned 2.0, you know. Some work better than others. I wasn't as down on the 2023 Dynamite.
It looked awful.
Rebadge. But
awful.
This, in contrast, is really like, I don't know, like, as like zoomed in a little bit on everything they got wrong about that one. Like, again, at the time, it just, it's a bit of an upgrade rather than a complete redesign. But the staging in particular, I felt was kind of embarrassed by this one here. It's as if, like, somebody, like some Cowboys offered Tony Khan a good deal on some screens. Well, I can do you 5 for 4. And there's like, all right, fine, I'll take it. We'll hoy another one up there or something. So this has certainly like brought that into focus a little bit, but I sort of welcome the change anyway. If he was going to be loyal to one thing, I would have said stay loyal to the theme and mix up the logo every couple of years. So I'd like, if this is a pattern of things to come, great. And I like the new AEW logo as well. You know, they've taken the lines and the All Elite Wrestling away. I think you can do that.
You're
probably
right, it's cleaner.
It's cleaner. They had that distressed effect for years, and it was kind of already passé when AEW launched. Yeah.
So you can't do it too often, but I never mind these changes in wrestling in general. There's enough very, very similar stuff that we cover bell to bell. So at least when something looks different for a bit, you're like, oh, I'll get 3 weeks out of this.
Overall, what do you make of the show?
Well, bad news and good news.
Yeah.
I was completely on the opposite ends of the extreme. There was something I actively hated. Long-time listeners will know what I'm talking about. And there was something that I actively adored. And the good news is that the thing that I actively adored is genuinely difficult to do. Genuine verve, genuine creativity. Like really, really sort of deep thought has gone into it. And the repercussions of it are godlike, potentially.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, they did the hard bit, which is really reassuring to me, and there was some absolute slop at the start of the show that, while it soured my mood, it's the kind of thing where I don't expect them to do that every week. And if they decided to do this as a regular fixture, I think that there would be enough complaints where they would just scrap it, because
it's easy to fix that, isn't it, rather than the other one, which is long-term, really exciting.
Yeah, exactly. They did the hard part really, really, really well.
You wrote ups and downs for whatculture.com/WWE. What do you think?
Yeah, got a 7 and 3, which was actually higher when I counted than I thought it was from how much I enjoyed the show as a whole. But Sid just nailed like the difficulty level of the segment that we're going to talk about later on. That for me was my favorite AEW thing of 2024.
Yeah, I might agree
match
with
moment, vignette, segment, whatever. That segment was, I would consider it flawless, and I got that feeling, I guess, of what it used to be like when you knew that the Elite were onto something special with being the Elite, and they've got this knack and this ability to tap into so many things at once that make you want so many things at once. It's kind of what drove All In 2018, to make you want all those things and then be like, oh, we can actually build a stage and make this happen. It kind of captured that feeling within that segment in a way that, well, I was going to say best of 2024, realistically probably the best of the last year and a half. It's my favourite thing that I've seen on an AEW screen, like, yeah, probably since there's something CM Punk did on Collision. I don't know. I'm a mark for Phil. But like ultimately, yeah, there was a real magic to that. And how it contributed to a bigger picture point I want to make about AEW when we get to the end of the Osprey match, I think was key as well.
He's really caused like a managerial selection headache, Will Ospreay. Oh, people are going to have to follow that one day.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I disagree, right? I don't think he has. I think there's no headache. They're all terrible, but that's not fair. They're all not good enough. They're all not on his level. Like the bar, like Sid had mentioned this about Osprey making everybody catch up. Like loads of them can't, and good. Like it'll reflect a more accurate version of a wrestling meritocracy with Will Ospreay around. Yeah. And I say that not even as his biggest fan. And I think the Elite segment even contributed to that too. Really, really good feeling about AEW coming out with this Dynamite.
Yeah, me too. That was like, again, I hated and loved an equal part, I think, across the whole. They did the hard part right, and I left thinking, well, the mood set early was terrible, but my God, I'm really, really interested in how everything shakes out.
It was really
Counting
forward.
the days till big business. Sorry.
It was forward thinking, this Dynamite. There was 2 segments where I was thinking, I'm tired of these wrestlers fighting these wrestlers. I'm glad. And even then, those segments were built with, well, here's the end of that.
Yes.
And I thought, again, there was almost everything was promoting forward without that kind of tired feeling of these again. Almost none of that.
You mentioned big business there. Can I just talk very quickly about something that didn't happen that I expected to happen, and because it didn't happen, I'm worried that I'm going to forget to talk about it, if that makes any sense. No hard sells of Mercedes money.
No.
That was a mistake to me. I want to get excited about that. I mean, realistically, I've interpreted the cryptic clues. The fact that it's in Boston, it's called Big Business, and, you know, I'm online as everybody else is. Like, I know what's happening, but wouldn't it have been cool? Like, I'm not being funny. Like, I think I've not listened to Observer Radio yet. It's my tradition on a Thursday after leaving work to listen to their events. So I'm probably doing a bit of cross-pollination here. I expect Dave Meltzer, and I could be completely wrong, I expect Dave and Brian to be near apoplectic about how they didn't really hard sell or all but confirm that Mercedes money is going to be there, because they're very much business-minded, or certainly Dave is.
What are the tickets doing for that?
I would say modestly successful.
Right.
It's nowhere near a sellout. It's good for a Dynamite. Not necessarily great for Mercedes Monet's drawing power.
Yeah, chase the sellout if you can, sort of thing with her. Yeah.
At the very least, like, they haven't even first danced it. They haven't even said, like, oh, you know, that move looked a little, I don't know, like, I'm the real boss.
Somebody's making a statement.
Someone making a statement.
Like Chris Statlander wants to make a statement, and, like, she's banking something or whatever, you know, like the...
Aye. Maybe they'll do something on Collision, but Dynamite's the ratings driver.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because they got the Tony Awards on Rampage, I think, actually, rather than
Yeah.
Collision. Because when they started doing
that's
something...
Collision, I think.
Oh, is it
She
Collision?
go
Okay.
Collision, which is a funny bit, doesn't she? Funny words.
They, I thought they were going to set something up here, like when she was talking about Tony Awards and things like that, and I was like, okay, there you go, because you want an excuse to have someone, doesn't have to necessarily be Timeless Toni Storm, someone in the ring.
Well, the Elite did it on Punk's behalf, despite the fact that there were no plans for them to work together, just yet. But what I was getting at is, I'll understand if Dave says, you know, they should have done something, or they should have confirmed her, or said just set the debut. I don't necessarily believe that. I think fans are obviously dialed in. They are online. They know what's happening. But there's a middle ground that should have been reached, and that's the first dance of just get me excited.
Yeah.
And there was nothing to the point where I'm thinking, has it fallen through? Or anything daft like that. Like, again, wrestling fans should deserve more credit, I think, for being able to pick up on these really cryptic clues. But give me a few clues, get me more excited. It just felt like they could have done more. It's, again, there's certain things about AEW that will never change. They could have really said, I know they did at some point, but like throughout the show, like Osprey's wrestling again. Be bloody grateful, be lucky, luxuriate in this. Look what he did the other night. And they did it once, I guess. But Big Business, I think they could have pushed it so much harder. And I understand that they have to push this episode, the new look, the new season. I think they undersold Big Business.
That was my primary complaint of 2023 AEW, is that they lost sight of how good anticipation is as a wrestling fan for the pay-per-views. And then it was quite frustrating to then push back against, yes, the pay-per-view was brilliant. Well done.
Yeah.
Like, where was my weeks of just getting excited for the, like, Revolution?
You can enhance how good it is.
Like, Revolution was a perfect example of that. The show was exactly as great as we thought it would be, and all the weeks where we got excited about it being great. That's how you really do it, you know? Like, and I hadn't really considered it, but now you mention it, I think it's not even taking it for granted. There's no malice against the wrestling fans for not bringing it up. I think it's just a bit of a blind spot that Tony Khan has sometimes, because of his ability to, in his mind, think he's kind of covering all the angles.
Yeah, I just think they should have, like, really, just more clues.
Yeah.
More really impossible clues.
Currently, well, this is from Tuesday from WrestleTix. Current setup, 7,563. Tickets distributed, 6,896, so 667.
I mean, that's the upper bowl barely, like, it's going to be dark. Maybe they should have just done a really, like...
It's like Jay White and Darby's thing, and then a world title match. I guess they're trying to... They're not ticket sellers. I'm just, in terms of promotion, it's like the belt's on the line.
Oh, but that's not
Allin's.
the point, though. The point is, I don't know. We'll see. But they should have really just hammered it.
Yeah. So anyway, Dynamite opens, Pop from Mikey Ruckus. That was the new theme. Excalibur welcomes us to AEW Dynamite, and Tony Schiavone's in the ring. Wanted to talk to Swerve Strickland, who comes out from the stage right tunnel.
Oh, we need to get that in our heads again.
Yeah. So on Dynasty,
someone's gone through the he's aid, and then they're a heel now. I used to like that stuff.
Joe came out of the left one, I think. I can't remember.
I like the Colt Cabana one when he was agonizing over whether to join the Dark Order, and he had that shot of him like down the middle. That was really good.
So Tony asks Swerve what's next, and Swerve says, what's Swerve's house without the keys? This past Sunday, he wrestled in a three-way, couldn't get the job done. Joe did, though, told us he'd be champion, said Swerve, but he stands there, no champion. Maybe it's karma, he's done some bad stuff, and maybe it's payback for all that. He doesn't know, got some doubt, maybe he's not supposed to be champion, maybe he's supposed to just get close enough but not being able to grasp it and should just settle for this. But he wants to tell us all something. Something about Sunday felt different, he said. He's been to every city, every arena, and he sees it all, the dancing, the singing, the chanting. It felt like people were truly rooting for him for the first time on Sunday, though. Either that they wanted him to win and make history. He'd heard that people had flown in from Washington just to be present for him making history, and for that, he will not let them down. Nothing changes from this point on. He says, Samoa Joe, I'm coming for you. He doesn't know when or how, but he's coming. He's going to win the title. That he promises. Whose house? Swerve's house. Samoa Joe comes out. He's also in his gear. Swerve was in his gear, I should mention that. And Joe says, after taking off his towel and wiping off the title, saying, you sure are talking funny, Swerve. Making a lot of promises you can't keep. I'm here for a reality check. Here we are in Swerve's house. But it's too bad that your house exists in my world.
Just a little one.
The wordplay, these wrestlers, don't they?
They love it, don't they? And in my house, we eat. So don't stop talking about being starving.
Yes. Yeah, no.
I always cook.
It's the general sort of vernacular of pro wrestling sometimes really annoys me.
Mm-hmm. I think there was a couple of bits in here. I don't want to jump ahead. A couple of bits in here where they should both be grateful that Seth Rollins exists and Diarrhea Dwayne was stealing the week.
Yeah,
because it's that wrestling rule where it's like, right, you're a babyface now, or you're a trash talking heel. Time to get quippy, really artificially quippy. But it's the Diarrhea Dwayne week, so they can say whatever they like. Free hit this week.
Joe said he thought he could let us all gaze upon an actual world champion. He turns around and Swerve says, "Don't ever turn your back on me." Why not? Let's have a bare knuckle fight then. Why don't you put the title on the line?
But never mind, we'll just...
Yeah. Let's put the title on the line tonight. Let's do it now. But out comes the Undisputed Kingdom. And it's time for Story Time with Adam Cole, baby.
Story time with Tiffany Stratton, baby.
He mentions Roddy Strong, of course, new international champion. Mike Bennett and Matt Taven still ROH tag team champions. And now Wardlow has that title shot. And he reminds Joe the only reason he is champion is because they let it happen. He says, Swerve, you're this hot new thing. And yet 6 months from now, no one's going to give a damn about you. You'll be out of the main event scene. You're never winning the title. The man who is going to win the world title is Wardlow. And he'll bring it home to its rightful place. He points to himself, of course. Swerve laughs.
What does that mean?
He wonders how many times Cole's failed, how many chances he's got. But he's loving this new manager role of Cole's. Mm-hmm. The whole Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget look is very funny to him. There's a dig in there about Britt Baker saying she's got her second phone number in his pocket. Cole gets angry at that.
Hack stuff, man.
And Cole says...
What's Rollins lining up for them next week?
I know.
He says Taven and Bennett will fight both of you next week. And Swerve's like, well, why wait till next week? Let's go now. And Cole says, you don't make the rules. We do. No ifs and buts. This match is happening next week. And Tony Schiavone is immediately like, about that, the match is happening right now. And I know
what was meant to happen?
I know you want to talk about this, so I'm going to quickly segue into an email I got from Matthew Ormsby. Matthew, thank you for your email. Matthew simply writes, Sidge, a Sidgwick mega fan here. 15 minutes into the relaunch of Classic Dynamite. Promo train, impromptu match. Can they coexist? Welcome to Monday Night Raw.
Didn't consider all of them.
Yeah,
I tweeted that. I did, because I tweeted the exact same thing.
Yes.
I tweeted the exact same thing. Oh my God. I was what? Puzzled, infuriated, just genuinely quite upset watching this, right? Because I didn't even consider the fourth clause to the worst paragraph ever written. A promo train leads to an impromptu can they coexist match. And then I forget the name of the person in my replies, I'm sorry, who pointed out to me in which a set of tag team champions got beat in a ostensible handicap match because that was the story of Swerve.
Handicap squash.
Yeah. That was like, remember when they had Roman Reigns? Did he beat the club?
Roman beat the club. You had Braun.
The club, the OG club. Gallows and Anderson.
Braun once beat the entire division.
Yeah.
Remember that? Like, he had a gauntlet of tag teams that he smashed through.
Sammy G says, totally agree, throwing tag champs under the bus to get a singles feud over. Couldn't be more like Vince era WWE.
And this was
quip off, like they were both hitting quips.
This was Twilight Years Vince mega mix. A Twilight Years Vince McMahon mega mix of pure and utter shit. That's what this was, and I really, really hated it. And again, the whole mission statement, tunnels, every color you've ever seen in your life, vibrant. Like, this was AEW Dynamite, just like you remember it. It was, though. That was the whole... We're getting the feeling about the tunnels are back, the color explosion's back, and the aesthetic, and in the graphics.
See you Wednesday on Turner.
Yeah, and this is, we've got Osprey ready to just re-elevate the in-ring standard all over again, just like we did in 2019, very much AEW, we're restoring the feeling, just like you remember it. It's funny because I don't remember in 2019, February 2020, or the summer of 2021, the most Vince-pilled creative you've ever seen in your life. And look, I just hated it. I don't think there's any justification for this. I thought the timing was abysmal because I personally was instantly struck with, well, it sucks. This is you cannot do Dynamite nostalgia and tell people without necessarily showing them, which in itself was not the best or most credible idea, at least. And then do this. I just didn't like it at all. And it's not just... the format, which is it's beneath WWE these days. I don't even think WWE is that good on a weekly basis, outside of like some really cool happenings in the main event. But this is the sort of thing that they're competing against a version of WWE that WWE itself has realized, let's not do this every single week. Do you know what I mean?
You get a promo train sometimes at the top of the second hour with like hot main event.
Oh, you still get them.
Yeah, they still happen.
They still happen.
Yeah.
You'll still get an impromptu. You'll still get a match that is made backstage by...
Harassed Adam Pearce.
Adam Pearce. And this format still exists, but WWE largely isn't as bad as it once was.
Yeah.
This is... And again, I didn't like... Swerve had a bad night in terms of some of his verbiage. Less than ideal. In the idea that he was, and he has to do this because he's got the singles match with Joe at Dynasty, presumably. The idea that he has framed himself, as he should, realistically, as the undeniable top star and babyface. I really felt you rooting for me, and it felt like it's my turn, and it is my turn, and I'm going to beat you. And Will Ospreay's in that main event getting like the hot as balls reaction.
Yeah.
It's more tell, don't show. When that has been AEW's kind of big thing of 2024. Luckily, they showed me the most glorious path for professional wrestling in 2024, deeper into the show. But I just didn't like the verbiage. I didn't like the setup. I didn't like anything about this. Is that the one thing I liked, and even that was undone, was the menace and the belief in Swerve's voice when he said, "Don't turn your back on me." He felt like he'd reached that balance of, you love me, I'm going to be a babyface now, I have no choice, but I'm still a version of the performer you fell in love with. I'm still retaining the characteristics that you like about my character, that menace, that sort of psychopathy. And then he turns around and gets choked out. Adam Cole in that, he just looks so vulnerable. Can they not just give the guy some time off? The Undisputed Kingdom, Roddy being awesome aside, continues to be a complete and utter narrative imposition, and it makes no sense for them to be there realistically. Wardlow versus Joe next week as well. I will reserve my thoughts on that, on the preview, and let Hamflet talk for a change.
I don't want people to think that this
WWE in 2019, just like you remember it.
I really don't want us going in on this segment to make people think this is going to be a negative podcast, because I really don't think it's going to be. But there was a lot wrong with this segment, to the point where...
Someone in Stitch's reply said they regretted it afterwards, but they turned the show... I think it was Sean said, I'd turn the show off because of that. They regretted it. Obviously, it's mint afterwards, but...
Well, mint in the second hour.
Yeah.
There was things here that I thought were reflective of an attempt at some very good booking, right? I don't want to jump ahead to the match, but I think the very layout of the match existed, because I think there was some reasonable criticisms coming out about the three-way from Revolution that included critiques on Swerve's work and just how, for a babyface that is undeniable, and we've all said it, and he's out there now kind of declaring it, that also should include the match quality. And there were elements that weren't there on Sunday. So then you book him in this handicap match where he just like kicks all the ass and he's doing it as a babyface. And it's like, well, that's like on paper, you're addressing a criticism there and you're just resetting things ahead of Dynasty where presumably he's going to go and win the title. And even that was flawed because in the same breath, you are sending Adam Cole out there to cut this promo. You are arranging this whole segment around saying, right, now take them seriously. We realised it was a bit of a false start because MJF was nowhere to be found. They had nothing to do. They looked like this whole stable looked washed already. But here they are, top of the show, new Dynamite, new era. They've got belts. They've got Adam Cole, a credible figure at the front, and they've got a number one contender to the title. So all of this, in theory, is Undisputed Kingdom for reals now, guys. Sorry about that first month. And then you send like your tag team champions from the group out there to get squashed in a handicap. That's sort of a disaster.
This was a disaster, I thought.
Even if you've designed it to help Swerve, you're packing way too much in, so you're stepping on your own dick over the course of one segment.
And is there an element of, we were talking about this on, I can't remember which show the other day, it might have been Raw, of, Joe's got Wardlow next week, but more importantly, probably he's going to come back to Swerve immediately.
Of course it is,
that.
yeah. Within the fiction,
signposting the life of things.
Within the fiction of this, by the way, Joe and Swerve, in their gear, were ready to have a match against each other.
Yeah, honestly, right? I hated this.
And in the fiction, I'm strictly in the fiction of this, wrestling booker Tony Khan in his Jack Tunney position have been able to make a match, impromptu or not, can make matches, right?
Fastest booker in the West.
Doesn't
boom got and even faster is the match graphic designer.
The graphics department who've made every graphic possible on that entire roster.
Doesn't make Tony Khan in the fiction doesn't make a hot ass world title match that both champion and challenger want to kick off his new era. He says, no, you don't want to see that. You want this tag match with these losers. So even within the fiction of this, he's like, well, you've made the weaker match there. What the hell are you thinking? Like, so none of it really holds together. Yeah. The quips were off-putting. The Swerve thing, right, about, I'm jumping ahead to Osprey later on, but there's a bigger point I want to make about Osprey. And I feel like I want to qualify it by saying, and I'm not even his biggest fan, but I think he is undeniable. What you have in Swerve and Osprey at the moment, awkwardly, is like The Rock has arrived before you've strapped up Steve Austin. Steve Austin was irrefutably the guy, and The Rock was bubbling underneath. This is like you've had like 1999 Rock before you've got 1998 Steve Austin. It's like, at least then you're like, Austin's made, and it's like, The Rock's knocking on his door and asking questions here. That's what you want. But instead, there's Swerve, and they're like Osprey. It's not even Swerve's fault. No. And that's why you book this match to have him kick ass, but just have him kick ass on some losers, and you don't bury the Undisputed Kingdom in the same bit.
This world title picture was already, a lot of people were extending, in my opinion, latitude towards it, and it doesn't help that Swerve and Osprey have got a very similar in-ring style as well. And Osprey's just the absolute best in the world at it. Not necessarily of all time, but in the world, undeniable. The last thing this world title picture needed was some terrible booking.
Yeah.
And maybe it wasn't that terrible because they've clearly laid out this match to make Swerve look like this killer. And, the detritus is the Undisputed Kingdom.
Joe was lucky that Hangman Page was in the ring, is basically what they're trying to get across here. That's
and then they've said, he's so good, Swerve, that you can kick two people's asses at once. I get what they were kind of going for, as much as I fundamentally hate the idea of the contrivance of everything about it. Will Ospreay has that match. Maybe you don't have Will Ospreay wrestle, but maybe you don't hide him away. I don't know. It's just, this is like, it's all untenable.
You should not do the good thing to make the bad thing less bad.
Yes.
You should just do the good thing and have the less bad thing be good.
It's feeling untenable.
I think they'll be okay because I think the path is clear. I think Swerve, I still think he should have won at Revolution, but I think he wins at Dynasty. He has a good...
I still think he deserves the shot.
Yeah. You gave him that run.
You can't be too fickle about it.
Swerve Osprey...
But they're making it hard for themselves. I'm sorry.
Swerve Osprey is cool. It's Wembley. Swerve can just drop back into being a situational heel for both the story and the payoff on the night. That match is worth being like tunnel visioned towards. Ultimately, they should have their eyes on that as a prize because it's a huge match. Wembley, it proved me wrong a little bit. I remember when Dave Meltzer was saying, you got to give Osprey something massive. The people want, his nation wants him. And I was thinking, Dave, mate, we've seen a lot of him, and he's all right. No, I was wrong. Like, Osprey was massive against Jericho, bigger than Jericho, and
everyone's bigger than Jericho these days.
And Wembley should be shaped around him becoming champion, and Swerve is the guy to drop it. So you follow that path, but you're gonna have to cheat this a little bit, I think. Yeah, like hide it better.
We've sort of analysed it, but I'll just quickly run through the match. Joe dominates the tag team champions immediately. He hits his signature senton, he gets a 2 count, but he takes his time mocking Swerve a little bit too much, which allows Bennett and Taven to attack and take him down, takes to a break. We come back. Strickland gets the hot tag, runs wild, takes out Taven with a pump kick on the apron, rolling flatliner on Bennett, brainbuster. Taven did cut off the Swerve stomp, went for a superplex, but he got sent to the floor. Strickland hit the stomp on Bennett, and Taven hit the house call and the JML drive, which I believe Excalibur called Big Pressure now, for the 1, 2, 3. And yeah, post-match, Wardlow walked out, turned his top into a bra briefly, while Samoa Joe choked out Swerve Strickland. And Wardlow is going to face Joe next week at Big Business for the world title.
Yeah, I'll preview that on the preview.
I just think it's really telling. AEW knows how to book stables, but there is a tiered system to how they book them. This wouldn't happen to Proud and Powerful in the early days of the Inner Circle, but it might happen to FTR in the early days of the Pinnacle, or anybody in the firm. There are ways that they treat the stables they care about and the ones they don't, and I think you were being informed by the booking to just not give a toss about the Undisputed Kingdom.
They're the JD and Dom of the Undisputed Kingdom.
Even though one of the lads is in the main event next week, this is the thing, you've got to pick. You've got to pick a lane, like what kind of stable are they? The BCC would absolutely never in a million years, not even Utah's getting treated like this, you know?
And the thing is as well, Matt Taven, we were asked to receive him as a guy who could headline a TV show.
Yeah.
Yes. Good point.
What, a month ago?
It gets better
3 weeks ago?
It gets better from here. Significantly better from it.
Well, not significantly. In the second hour is incredible.
We're going to heap praise on it. But I know, Sidge, one of your big concerns going into this show, you're really excited, but you were like, God, what's Chris Jericho doing next? Well, worry not, because Renee Paquette is backstage with Hook talking about the fact he's going to face Brian Cage. Typically, it was announced after we did the preview, so apologies we couldn't talk about that. It's the FTW Championship match. And Chris Jericho walks in and says, I remember when your dad dropped me on my head back in ECW. And I thought, regarding Taz, I thought,
Hey, you all right?
Do you know what the show was called? Well, that was on Wilborn from ECW.
Go on.
The Big Ass Extreme Bash.
Really?
Yeah.
Amazing. And then, obviously, Hook did that to him at Revolution. And as a result, suddenly Jericho thinks about Hook.
Hey, you all right?
Says, maybe the real deal. And there's a fist bump and Hook leaves. And then before the match, we got a look back. This was already great, and we're going to get to getting even better, Sidge. We look back at Hangman Page putting his hands on referees, and we cut to Matthew and Nicholas Jackson.
My boys are back, man.
Should we do? I know there's 3 of us and there's 2 of them. But should we do our impression of when they cut back to Matthew and Nicholas Jackson? Thanks, guys. They've got 2 great. Got 2 huge announcements. What could they possibly be parodying? They got 2 huge announcements, but Matthew cuts his brother off and says, actually, we'll make him later in the ring.
The pregnant pause. I'm going to have to interrupt you there.
They were so good at just completely mercilessly mocking how almost endearingly awkward Tony Khan is. Very, very, very good stuff. Really enjoyed that. They're just in the goddamn zone. On Jericho, actually. Don't cut me off.
Oh, sorry.
And don't piss me off. A lot of people are like, oh, for God's sake, he's doing this, right? But you could consider every single permutation of what Chris Jericho could possibly do in All Elite Wrestling and think, oh, God, I can't believe he's doing this.
Yeah.
I can't believe Chris Jericho exists. Is at this point the bugbear a lot of people have. The thing about Hook is that he's not, at this moment in his career, he's not hot or promising enough for anything to be ruined. And because I still think he's got a presence and a natural athletic ability that will see him come good in the end, I haven't got my hopes up for Hook for the next year or 2. So that's my personal opinion on Hook. I think he was flattened and made cold well before Chris Jericho literally is in his ear now. I was just so relieved that is the kind of small fry chum.
Yeah.
Let me piss on those chips, pal. Because my brain never works faster now than when I'm watching Chris Jericho. Remember when he came out with Daniel Garcia when Adam Cole returned? I was like, no, please, God, no. And then we had to sit through Double or Nothing, right? He's with Hook. It's like, oh, God, Hook's fighting Brian Cage. That means that they're going to get involved in the Mogul Embassy. Swerve Strickland is technically still with the Mogul Embassy. Oh, my God, Chris Jericho's going to team with Swerve and then turn on him and he's going to have a title fight against him.
As long as it's on telly.
I mean, yeah, but that was where I got to over the course of one Chris Jericho. I'm doing this sort of like, how are you getting from there to there to there to there?
The thing is with AEW now is that you can do your degrees of separation and then you can do them again and you can do them again. You know, it's like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
In AEW, you pick any member of that roster and there's the infinity symbol degrees of separation. They've all had some kind of interaction.
It was like...
It's fine.
In 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, there was always like a certain actor you could cheat it with because they'd been in like hundreds of films.
Yeah.
The AEW one is Orange Cassidy.
It is.
Get to Orange Cassidy, then you can go in so many different directions.
Everyone's his mate. He's teamed with everyone.
I watched this and what happened immediately after the Brian Cage match, and I thought, Hook, FTW champion. I'm right in thinking FTW stands for F the world, and I thought, that's exactly what an intergalactic serial killer would think, probably. So.
When he finds love, he F's the world.
GFYW.
We're changing the belt. So we got Hook versus Brian Cage in an FTW championship match. Cage avoids a suplex early on, just starts hoying Hook all over the place. Suplex throws, belly to bellies. He grabs the chair, wedges it in the corner, but Hook sprays him with a fire extinguisher and hits him with a trash can lid. But Cage grabs him, sends him into the ring steps, misses a charge at him. Hook jumps off the steps, but Cage power slams him. And then Brian Cage, from the way they shot it, Brian Cage runs through the barricade by himself because you couldn't see Hook move. He just went, and ran through the barricade to take us to a break.
It was less than ideal, because Taz had already ripped the piss out of him at this point for being a terrible pro.
Yes, I know.
So he's 2 kinds of thick. Cool.
So Cage takes over during the break again. There's a guardrail set up in the corner of the ring. Hook countered an F5 into a DDT onto a chair, dodges a discus lariat, hit a leaping clothesline and a suplex, and hits another one onto the guardrail for a 2 count. Cage gets out those cross-face punches, though, hits a neck breaker, a powerbomb into an F5 on the chair, but because he's doing a bit of an arrogant cover, Hook can kick out. So Cage gets a big bag of tacks, empties them in the ring, but Hook gets out of the drill claw, puts red rum on. Cage backs him into the chair that's been wedged in the corner earlier, as I mentioned. There's kendo stick shots, and Hook gets a T-bone suplex onto the tacks. Hook hits those crossface shots, puts him in red rum. Cage falls back onto the tacks, but Hook just doesn't let go. Cage passes out. Immediately after the match, Bishop Khan and Toa Leona jump Hook, where who comes to make the save but one Chris Jericho with Floyd the baseball bat.
Yep, Jericho doesn't seem like he's involved with Kenny Omega anymore. Narratively, a huge relief. Nor is he going to be glomming onto Will Ospreay, another huge relief. So I was okay with that. The actual experience of watching Hook versus Brian Cage, I was bored senseless, realistically. The kendo sticks and the LED screens were nightmarish because I'm comparing them to another promotion. And you cannot or should not.
New Japan. The War Games match.
You cannot nor should not do a match like this after the Sting one.
Exactly my article.
Good point, yeah.
Excess in AEW is for better and worse, and this was worse.
I just couldn't take any of the violence seriously. The violence felt scary, transgressive. I felt, have you crossed the line here? In the best possible way, because you know, when you park your rational brain, and then you pick it back up afterwards, you know, oh, no, it was all fine. But you don't want to feel like that in the moment. At no point in the moment of this match did I feel like anything was like really... that there was any kind of hatred, like any kind of like really transgressive, you're taking it too far violence. I just saw some LED screens and some kendo stick shots. So for 99% of this, I was just bored, senseless. It had no effect on me. I don't even think it was a particularly good plunder match. Like, it was nowhere near the level, let alone the Sting retirement. This was nowhere near the level of Sammy Guevara versus Powerhouse Hobbs, which had just happened, 2 weeks ago? Less than 2 weeks ago?
So the collision, that one.
Yeah, so almost a complete waste of time, this. However, because I'm a generous guy, the finish was so cool as a means of Hook is this hard that you can get punctured and not really care that much. To get him over as a badass on that level, even if it didn't really ring true in my experience watching it, the idea is that they got something really, really creative right at the absolute death of this match where I wasn't that annoyed with it.
You like me thinking, well, where's the boxing glove on a stick?
Right. You say that. To Sidge's point, I hope. Like, why I was...
The second hour was genuinely great. I cannot wait to talk about it.
Why I was isolating elements of that dumb Asylum match and NXT was because with boxing glove on a stick, it acknowledged what it was.
See, Brian made it. The boxing glove on a stick is all elite, by the way.
Straight Jackie Hagen from the corner and boxing glove on a stick. It's like, I know what this match is, and I'm going to watch it as such.
Yes.
Don't get serious, because I won't take it seriously myself. This didn't. Like, this just, there was no specific tone this was set to. And again, I couldn't get away. Sting smashing the glass with his bat, like, struck a chord more than anything these two did to each other's bodies.
Yeah.
Because you know what you're watching, you know what tone you're in, and that's the problem of, AEW excess with Plunder especially, I think. I don't want to call for anybody to lose their job, but, like, Brian Cage is more valuable than, like, 40 guys in this roster. Like, what a utility player he is, because the ability to, like, do the job to Hook in a weapons match and then be rebuilt as a killer when you need him to. I kind of love Brian Cage. I felt a little bit.
I can get when he was his King, wasn't he? Was his cosplay?
Yeah.
I understand that reference. I don't get many of them.
He dresses up, whatever. But like in these matches, he fits. I don't know. I like watching Brian Cage more than I like watching quite a lot of guys in AEW.
I think he must have had a period of introspection because I think for a while he just vanished, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then he had that inexplicable news that he'd re-signed. And he thought, well, why? He just doesn't seem to want to. He's doing his goddamn job and he's doing it really quite well. And he's committed to it. He kind of understands what he's needed to do. And more people who aren't going to make it as main event players should really follow the example of Brian Cage.
Whose contracts might be expiring soon.
Well, I'm not talking about him.
Okay.
But
Just double checking.
he's very much in that conversation, probably. But no, he does jobs all the time. That's the one you kind of deny Matt Hardy doing jobs. That's not the evil he does.
Right, we see footage of
When Tony Khan needs to do someone to do a job, I'm the one he calls.
Yeah, he is.
We see footage of Tony Khan at Revolution saying the tag titles have been vacated, and they sort of have a brilliant video pack. There's going to be a big tournament, obviously, and there's a video package of all the previous tag team champions. And then we go backstage to Renee Paquette, who's there with Orange Cassidy, Chuck, and Trent. She asks Cassidy what's next for him after he lost the international title. And he says he's going to continue trying to fill his backpack up with gold. Chuck Taylor says it's time best friends win the big one. But he's not cleared yet, so Trent and Orange Cassidy should enter the tournament and win the whole damn thing, starting on Rampage.
It's my little Jey Uso that could story, this one. Bang into this. Bang into, like, when's Trent going to do it? The bastard that has lurked within Trent, let's be honest, always, is finally going to come out. And
The only one I was watching during this promo.
Yeah, totally. He's stealing this story, and it's going to be great when we always talk about, no matter what I think of best friends, there's a deep love for that act, and Trent ripping it apart at Orange Cassidy's expense. Yeah, I want this.
I'm into this as well. Really, like, good understated acting because it's different because he's a lot of. I hate this lowercase. Going to win the big one. It's like you're there to he graft, but show me that you wanted it a little bit.
Yeah,
he showed me that you actually wanted to do something here, which I thought was really good.
I like the tournament as well. Continental Classic's done a lot for restoring the trust in the process. Like, I don't think this division's at its strongest by some distance, but I think the tournament will be good.
Saw a great tweet. We pitched.
I don't even know the brackets.
Yeah, we don't.
So how do you know?
No, I'm just saying. I've got a good feeling about how this tournament's going to play out.
We pitched Young Bucks versus
you might say.
Sting's Sons. I saw a great alternative, which I love and hate at the same time. Young Bucks booked themselves against the Outrunners first round.
Great.
Oh my God, that's probably my match of the year, to be honest. Just pack up there, boys. Killswitch versus Daddy Magic was next. Christian Cage, Nick Wayne, and Nick Wayne's mom, Boomy,
A mother.
come out. Cage is on commentary, and unfortunately, as if it wasn't hard enough for Daddy Magic, his ribs are still taped from being chokeslammed through some chairs. But he attacks straight away, bites, punches Killswitch, who goes down to a knee after 2 clotheslines, but he catches him as he goes for a third, hits him with a choke slam. Daddy Magic spits in his face, who headbutts him, hits a huge lariat, and the running extinction gets the 1, 2, 3. Post-match, Daniel Garcia makes the save. He beats down Nick Wayne, but Killswitch nails him with a boot, and Nick Wayne hits him with Wayne's World as Cage on commentary says how much he bloody loves his son. They leave, they stand on the ramp, they celebrate. You think the segment's over. But here comes a returning Adam Copeland who swings a chair and then chokes out Nick Wayne while staring down Christian Cage. Nick Wayne's mom tries to low blow him, but Copeland stops her and he chases Christian Cage through the crowd, through the back, out of the arena, and Cage steals a car to escape. Then Adam Copeland stares down the lens and says, March 20th in Toronto, we finish where we started. Cope Cage 3 for the TNT title. I quit match. And the fastest booker in the West makes it official immediately, as Excalibur explains to us.
There's a cowboy Tony Khan coming out.
I need
let me book some
Oh my God!
matches.
There's already an image as well that people can Photoshop.
Yes.
We need a
I think you look like a gangster. No, he didn't.
We need a cowboy sound effect.
We couldn't stop laughing and staring at it. This is the greatest night of our lives, Sidge.
But yeah, Cope Cage 3.
Yeah, should be all right.
Done with all of this.
Done with all of this, and Copeland stock has kind of fallen.
Not bad stuff, but I'm done with all of it. Like, everyone involved here was like, right, everyone should move on now.
Everyone should move
and
on.
That's fine. Like,
don't want Copeland as TNT champion. I've seen the Cope Open already. and I said, I know it's a good idea. It's like, I'll do what a TNT champion should do. I'm the rightful TNT champion. Good idea in theory, but I've seen your TNT Open Challenge title reign, and it was made realistically. The new reality is Adam Copeland does AEW really have a use for him? Like, really? If we're being brutally honest, and the guy's had a legendary Hall of Fame career and all the rest of it, it's not like we're saying, that young person, does Adam Copeland have a place here? Look at everybody else who could be holding a title. I just don't think so. I'm not saying, get rid of him.
No.
I'm saying put him in the tag team division with Cage and get this over with now.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That's there for the long term, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. They should do it in the short or medium term. They should. This is not a huge concern. Does anyone go online firing takes? This is the fourth or fifth thing that people care about.
I think
that's the highest.
Does Copeland offer still a little bit of weird graphic value? Like, you're right about the Osprey comparison, but like Cope versus Osprey as a graphic. Like Omega when he comes back, there's still a few of them kicking around, isn't there?
There's a few of them kicking around, but then Omega and Osprey versus anyone's, I don't know. I just think that he's a much better heel. I'm sick of him being Jack Reacher. I've watched Jack Reacher Edge for nearly 4 years now. Then I had a little bit of goth Edge. I'd corrupted Edge or Jack Reacher Edge. I don't want either of them. I want the guy promised to me, the rated R superstar, and I want to have a tag team with Christian Cage, and it will be great. Just get to the point because I'm bored of this.
Throw grit in people's eyes to win.
Some nice lore hit me on this one, Sidge. It's run through my head. It's stuck there forever in place of things that I actually need. Is Todd Pettengill going, Sunday, March 20th for WrestleMania 10. And it's going to be 30 years to the day when Edge and Christian face off as Brett and Owen. So there's some nice Canada brother wrestling lore for you. And March 20th.
They've done that on purpose. You reckon they've just thought of that?
Toronto, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's like it's all
worked
worked
they've
out.
held off the Revolution one.
Yeah.
Maybe.
March
Like
20th. That hit
Have
me
you
straight away.
tweeted that yet?
No.
Or somebody else?
Possibly. I don't know.
Do it now. No. Get those likes.
Yeah.
I'll get them.
I'll take them when people listen to this podcast and say, good catch, Hamflet.
No. Why don't you tweet it?
I will do after this podcast.
Yeah.
Where can people find you on Twitter?
At Michael Hamflet.
And you?
M. Sidgwick.
There we go.
We're not done. I haven't even got to the good stuff yet.
Yeah, no, I like the show
Go.
a great deal.
I don't know why I found it so funny Christian Cage just running away, because I think I thought he's going to chase him, he's going to hop the barricade, and Copeland's going to be like, bloody hell, and then he followed him. They just kept going, and I was like, where are they heading? You can't have a car waiting for him out there because he's gone a completely different direction. And he just went, yeah, wait, I'm having this car, see you later.
This is the epitome of not everything needs to be a big saga.
Yeah.
Cool Kyle O'Reilly is backstage. No, it's just normal Kyle O'Reilly. Is there with Renee Paquette. And she asks him, what being away for nearly 2 years felt like. And he talks very openly about feeling just great to be back and having that fear of, am I never going to get to do what I love to do and provide for my family ever again? But he said the ovation on Sunday felt great. And he says he's got nothing but love for the Undisputed Kingdom, but with getting this second chance, he wants to do it on his own and take his own path.
Can't not, admire O'Reilly for getting back to this point. Can't not be buzzing for him. I've always liked him. He always seems like the sweetest dude. And he's really well liked as well. I think he's much better as a heel. But the sentimental value attached to the person who's really persevered will carry my investment through. Ultimately, his destination as a heel is as a heel, in my opinion.
Bump's brilliant.
He's such a good stooge and killer at once somehow. But I'm happy for him enough to really get behind him in the short term.
I always remember that fire up he did against, was it AOP? Where he's like, no, wait a second,
He's great.
Yeah, he's great.
Not much he can't do, Kyle O'Reilly.
Yeah.
We get a brilliant video package about the main event of Revolution, Sting's retirement. If you haven't watched it yet, I think collectively we've probably watched it about 10 times between us. Go and watch it. It's sensational. And that is obviously followed by the Young Bucks coming out.
Oh my God.
The back, man.
Tony Schiavone can't.
Feels like the podcast's back. I was watching this. I was like, oh, got something to talk about.
Yeah.
Like the proper stuff.
Tony Schiavone, very pleased with himself, says, what a great entrance that was after you got your asses whooped at Revolution. And they go, get out of our ring.
We'll tell them what the entrance was, the listeners who watch the show.
Do you want to talk through it? Because it was preposterous, as always, from them. They were the smart. I just love their glee at being themselves now.
It's all just come together, hasn't it?
Yeah, they're really dialed in now.
I'm glad they did like drip feed you with the Rampage. They're smart, the Young Bucks, and I think that was.
Oh my God!
What I dared to forget for like 2 years because they sort of let you. Like a checked out them is as bad as it gets because then you take them for granted.
Yeah,
and you shouldn't.
They're so smart. The levels they think on.
And I've missed.
That's why they were the elite.
It's why AEW.
That's why they were the elite. Yeah.
It's why AEW exists.
Yes!
Off a YouTube thing and off multiple companies and takes big ass picture thinking.
Got a bit of a hot head.
They've moved past Revolution and how Sting cheated. Regardless of the result, actually they did retire Sting forever, which I thought was a brilliant recovery of like people saying, well, how are you going to do it? How are they going to be okay if they lose their first big... It was still retired him.
Wrestling works on such this meta level now that them losing but doing the best possible job in one of the all-time wrestling spectacles matters so much more than a win.
And that promo line is the best version of one of the worst things ever, which is the John Cena no selling a loss thing.
Yeah.
And just I made that funny.
Yeah.
Like, well done.
And now they want their AEW tag team titles back in the tournament. And Matthew said they've got two big announcements that involve their good friends, which makes even more sense once you know where we go here. How they say, well, it's awkward this, no favoritism. Hangman Adam Page, you put your hands on two officials at the pay-per-view. You cross the line. So unfortunately, you are suspended indefinitely from the Elite without pay. Also, Kenny Omega, where the hell are you? You've kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. You're not making your appearances for some reason. So Matthew fires him.
Might have died had he not got an extra day.
He fires him from the Elite and says, oh, sorry, you have to find out about that on live TV, but there you go. Anyway.
Not making towns like he's the friggin' Warrior in 96.
And do you know what else that's a level on? You're not making your dates. Who used to
that
brag
was the dig, wasn't it?
about making their towns? Levels, man.
Yeah.
Eddie Kingston comes out.
Diverticulitis kills people. Come on, Kenny.
Eddie Kingston comes out and said Nick had told him if he didn't watch his language last week, he'd be fine.
Make the towns. Some of them aren't allowed in the buildings. How they're meant to do that?
He'd been told if he didn't watch his language, he'd be fined. So he threw a wad of cash at Nick and said, "Might as well do it now, bitch." And Matthew tries to calm everyone down and says, "Hey, let's not air our grievances in front of the fans. Let's sort this out backstage." And Nicholas low blows him, and they kick the crap out of him and set up for the EVP trigger. When do you want to do it? Yeah, do it.
When sets up for the EVP trigger.
Sets up.
EVP
trigger.
Mind now that.
There you go.
That's how it works.
And then some bloke comes out who I've literally never seen before. There's no video package. I'm like, who? No.
He's never been in AEW.
Yeah. It's Kazuchika Okada. He's in a suit.
Oh my God.
Huge cap.
It's like Adam Cole in the trainers. You kind of already think you know where it's going, but no, you can't possibly, can he? And then he does.
He comes down to the ring. He saves Eddie Kingston. And he says, grab him and nail him with a Rainmaker. And Nicholas says, oh, yeah, our second announcement is the newest member of the Elite is Kazuchika Okada.
Oh my god.
And he signals to Kingston he's coming for the Continental Crown, and you get the Bucks and Okada posing on the stage as the commentary can't believe what's just happened, and well, we can't either.
When we used to talk about AEW, it was like every cool idea that we might think is cool, they'll go and do something so much more awesome.
There was stuff that I'd say to you, what do you reckon they should do here? And you say, I don't want to say because it's going to pale into comparison to what they actually do. Yeah.
And that was that. This
Yeah.
was the feeling.
Yes.
This was the feeling of a company that is miles and miles and miles ahead of you, and then they will drip-feed their genius to you as and when they please over the long term, securing your emotional investment, and they're telling you what's going to happen, and they're just making you want to see it. That's the next, 12 months?
Yep.
6 months? A mini narrative Big Bang for a new season. This is unbelievably great. The Young Bucks doing the Cody Vader pose is just absolutely what...
Forgot to even to talk. Yeah, sorry.
Them doing the Cody Vader, what they call it?
Cody Vader.
Yeah. Absolutely incredible.
When it was like he got a few pelters from arseholes like me, but other people after I got it with Cody, like, it's always got to be about you, hasn't it? And now they're playing that role.
Yeah.
Like a proper EVP just like stealing every bit of limelight they can.
And Cody would have popped huge for it
totally.
as well. So that was absolutely great.
So much extra expense to get a screen that works as a screen, but also can then be lifted to bring a platform. Just preposterous.
I hedged my bets because I ultimately got... So after the preview, I was at home, and I was all right, I was just watching some telly with the kids, and I started thinking about Dynamite, which I hadn't done for much of last year, which again is probably an indication that we are getting back. Getting, not back. Mm-hmm. I started thinking, I was like, hang on. And then I had this thought. The Young Bucks came out wearing a freaking Okada robes at Revolution, just in plain sight. So I WhatsApped Hamflet saying that, and then what if they do, because they often foreshadow stuff with the Bucks, like with the white for the blood angle, it's just what they do. They love to tease, build, mystery, Easter egg. When they're dialed in, and goddamn it, are they dialed in? I thought, they've got the Okada robes on. So are they going to... And I was thinking about the tag team tournament, about the announcements. Then I saw that we're going to hear from the Young Bucks. And I was like, Omega and Okada going to pick up from New Year's Dash and go against the Young Bucks. I got it wrong, and they got it much better. But I did tweet, you can see the proof, at M. Sidgwick, just thinking and remembering that what the robes look like, because I wanted to hedge my bets, because I knew there was going to be some kind of Okada connection last night before watching the show, and the best Okada connection possible. You have got him back as that entitled rich dickhead, right? Which is the best possible role for him. You've teased dissension within the old Elite, and they've just stopped caring about Omega, which stems from the events of the Jericho stuff as well, so it kind of makes sense. It's not just we've got a new toy, how do we play with it? Young Bucks versus Page and Omega 2, when Page and Omega become friends again.
Washington.
Oh my god.
You've got the Young Bucks and Kazuchika Okada versus Kenny Omega and friends.
Oh my god.
You have got Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada 5.
Oh my god.
All right, well, I'm going to strap in for the next 6 months, and this is great. One more thing before Hamflet points out a bit of lore with the Young Bucks wearing Kazuchika Okada's gear, which is the levels
Oh my god.
this act
Oh my god.
thinks
Oh my god.
about.
Oh my god.
Nicholas Jackson is evolving into a quite wonderful traditional TV promo guy.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Really good.
Like Matt Jackson's really good as well. Matthew Jackson, sorry, I should call him by his God-given name.
Matthew Ron John.
Nicholas Jackson just is really good at promos now.
I like the you pointed this out weeks ago, the difference in their personalities about the good cop, bad cop of management.
Yeah.
Like to have both as these office space awful cretins that we've all dealt with at a management level is perfect. But it folds,
They should do. I'm going to need you to work the weekend.
yeah, it folds so neatly into wrestling.
Yeah.
And you never would have thought that as well because we've seen so much bad admin on wrestling screens before. This is it done right. Yeah, when Sue sent me that message, I missed one of my kids doing something they'd never done before at swimming because I was so engaged in it. And then it struck me, because we care just as much away from these desks as we do sit at them, that like going back to when they, and this is virtually their words, I'm paraphrasing, but when they survived TNA together, this lovely relationship between Generation Me and Okato formed, right? And then that travels all the way to New Japan, obviously. And there's loads of pictures going back years of Okada.
Okada got them in.
For a bit. Like, I'm wearing your gear. Like, Okada was a young buck, what? And it's obviously just a nice bit of affectionate crack between the two. They release out to the world, and you'll see Okada dressed like a young buck, and it's lush, right? And now, he's dressed like a young buck, but because he's joined the Elite, and the young bucks wear suits now. So this whole thing has come together off the back of the robes. It's just so graceful how they do this. It's not just like a title.
They are guilty sometimes of doing it quite obviously.
Yeah.
I'm not saying everything they've ever done is this really elaborate, cool Easter egg. Sometimes they can really lay it on thick, but this was genius.
Yes.
To reverse the we're going to dress like Okada.
Yeah.
Which Hamflet pointed out to me, by the way. Mwah!
Oh my God.
Like, sometimes it's law for law's sake, but this wasn't that. There's a point about this segment, Sid just covered why this was just like flawless wrestling, booking, and promotion. And
Watch this segment again.
Performance all at once. This is what it's all about. Like, I'll take a talking segment over a match when it sets up the great matches, when it delivers the great promos, when it's the Cody Punk thing for me in WWE. This is this in AEW, right? The wider point on this, and it just saves me saying it when we get to the Osprey analysis, because Sid will cover that match in way more detail than I
won't, but I loved it, but
AEW, to its immense credit, right, is stubbornly pushing ahead with a wrestling first, wrestling forward promotional style. That might not bring people back in the buildings. It didn't when Brett and Shawn did it in the 90s. It might not restore the feeling completely, right? But they're doing it anyway, as they should, because it's definitely the alternative still to WWE, right? And they are doing that by putting Will Ospreay, not just in a huge pay-per-view dream match against Takeshita, but in a main event that I believe was just as good as the Takeshita match, right? And what they're doing there with Will Ospreay is what they didn't do, to their peril, with the Elite in 2019. It was a noble failure of the Elite to reduce their status to try and get 20 other guys over, but it was a mistake. Because when Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks on telly every week...
I would argue that it wasn't.
What, a noble
AEW's
failure?
business was at its hottest weekly before Punk came.
Yeah.
That summer, the Hangman, and it all needed that Kenny Omega to realize, I need to start cheating.
Yeah.
And all the rest of it.
Yeah, there was a massive story they were telling, and like fair play to them for that. But certainly that, I thought the Young Bucks and Kenny wrestling every week was going to be so much better than this. Nobody's going to be saying that about Will Ospreay. He's going to have these matches every week, and this is, they're kind of like going like direct route one. We sign the best wrestler, you're going to have the best wrestling match
20 minutes.
Every single week, right? So they're establishing...
They could have handled it better.
Yeah. They're establishing that 2024 AEW is the place where Will Ospreay is going to do this every week. Best matches, best wrestlers. And then in the segment where the other best wrestlers, the Okadas, the Young Bucks, the Kennys, the Pages, they're setting up all those matches. Like, those two things are linked without being linked. Just because they're not together in the story, they are reminding you that this is the destination for that. You might not like it as much as your sports entertainment and your Cody and your huge Roman Reigns promos, but like, that's fine. We're going to give you 40 minutes of talking on the Fed. This is where you come for the very, very best wrestling, and it's been quite a while. What this made me feel like was, in one night, AEW is the Dream Match Factory again, and maybe what it was missing, and I loved MJF's in-ring output in 2023, maybe it was just missing too many of the wrestlers that make it the Dream Match Factory, because it felt back in one night.
Yeah.
And that elite touch as well. It just hits different.
So
it
funny,
really, really does.
I completely agreed with you at the time. All three of us sat here and went, moratorium on the Elite stuff for a year.
And I remember I said it this time last week,
Yeah.
if not earlier than that. One more thing before we move on. And it doesn't really matter. The Rainmaker's a weird one to do. I know you've been hitting the balls, but maybe you should have got a little bit more of a clobbering. Just a weird one to do for the
Weird
one
setup,
move
yeah.
beat down. Yeah. But I mean, who cares?
Okada, potentially, talking with Murray about this morning, Okada Kingston for either the Ring of Honor Supercard main event or for the to strap up Okada with all three belts at Dynasty. Which
one would you rather it was at?
Supercard of Honor.
Like, instantly the visual of him with three belts. Like, you've made him a heel, which is the root of the Rainmaker character. We've just fallen in love with the incredible wrestler. But the Rainmaker as a moneyed heel, immediately having three belts and being best friends with the EVPs, we're good to go. Yeah. Like, we are good to go with Okada in a way that completely differentiates him from Ospreay, who is going to good guy wrestle his way to respect. Like, they are on totally different paths.
Is there any other belt collectors they've had in AEW in the past?
Certainly none that you could get a chant out of.
Belt collect. door.
You did The Rock's terrible cadence bit as a bit 2 years before The Rock did it.
Yeah.
As an earnest thing.
So obviously this huge pop, huge reaction. People are so drained after this. What follows it? Oh, it's the only women's match on the card.
And the 2 segments straight afterwards. Yeah. Anyway, get Tony out there, Julie Hart and all while you're at it, if anything.
It was Chris Statlander with Stokely Hathaway versus Riho. Great to see her back. And yeah, the story of the match early on is Statlander's really strong and Riho's really quick. And that's how they get into it. Statlander, though, dodges a kick from drops Riho. Riho does that bridge out of the pin that she does, but Statlander gets her in a bear hug into a vertical suplex. Riho gets out of it, tries a crossbody, but gets caught and gorilla pressed as we go to break. When we come back, Riho fights back. Double stomp to the back, low drop kick. Gets a really good bridge after a Northern Lights suplex for a 2 count. But Statlander just nails her with a lariat. Riho pops up into a Hurricane Rana and a Tiger Feint kick. Statlander rolls through a top rope crossbody, but Riho responds with a Dragon suplex for 2. Statlander counters the charging knee into a big powerbomb stack for a nice near fall. And Hathaway's like, there you go, it's time, use the chain. He takes the referee. Statlander takes the chain, isn't sure, decides to throw it away. Riho tries for a Casadora, but Statlander counters with a wheelbarrow German. Goes for it again, but Riho counters into a roll-up for a flash 1-2-3, whilst Taz says she should have used the chain. She'd have won the match if she'd done that.
Yeah, the story was what it was, and the match could never be the very best version of itself as a result. But one of my favorite moves in all of pro wrestling is Riho's Dragon Suplex, because I always think, oh, she's done for. She can't get back into it. She's just a great, great baby face. I got more of a glimpse than the proper gaze that I wanted, but I just, like, please hit it. I wanted to get back in this match, and she does, and she's great. For how long it lasted, and it didn't last that long, and it wasn't really, the action wasn't really the emphasis, kind of a glorified character development for Statlander. I just love watching Riho be a babyface. I would like them to run this back properly for once at some point.
Good matchmaking, because I think you could, once Statlander's properly embraced being a heel, because a lot of the stuff you saw here didn't, like, intentionally, I think, didn't have that extra snap that you would get if it was a heel doing it to a babyface.
Yeah.
Statlander was wrestling competitively and didn't want to cheat. One of these days, you run this back, almost move for move.
It's going to be sick.
With a scowl and a snarl as she does it, and she wants to hurt her rather than just beat her.
Can we get Riho next week? Big business?
Yeah.
2 weeks?
It's a different match. This was proper, just like you remember it, in the fact that, like, they were up against every single obstacle, as you pointed out here, and still, like, started to generate that reaction at the end. It's a bit like Statlander just get crypted now, and then I'm more interested in, can they crypt Willow Nightingale? I think that's the more interesting story here. Statlander's got more of a justification for.
The only problem is they've had a match once and it wasn't very good. Maybe it was an off night for them, but we'll see.
And just like you remember, this was the only women's match on the card.
Just like you remember.
Sid, so before we get to the name of the game, we've got to get to the aim of the game.
The aim of the game is to identify to the hour, minute, and second the first time you hear the first note for the first entrance theme for the first woman to appear for the only women's match on AEW Dynamite, just like you remember it. It's always in that 120 to 125 range, or is every other week. The idea is it's apathetic. It's not good enough. It's like a total obligation. They kind of feel like they have to do it, otherwise everyone's going to kick off because you have to put the birds on in 2024, don't you? So that's what they do. That's why they do it. We try to skewer it every single week via this game. Before we get to the name of the game, though, let's get to the jingle behind the game, yeah? So the idea is we try and jingleize their thought process just to make it snappy. And you'll know, I know what they're doing now because Sidge did a jingle.
That's how it works.
And the jingle is when the main event, when the women come out to play, the main event ain't too far away. And that's the aim of the game. And the name of the game is, well, this is ladies' night, and I'm thinking, woo! What a night. Thank you, Sting.
And thank you, as always.
He does this. He does that.
Adam Blair at Adam Wilton 4 on X and Jose Palomares.
Yeah. Nearly 40, 2 kids. They don't want to see me. It's a partridge line. I love my family.
Jose Palomares at the Ho
people
11
think stuff.
on X. Sidge, because of course Adam and Jose always take care of the
Data.
Rabbit stuff.
Sid, you have our guesses from the preview yesterday. Do you want to run us through them in descending
Descending order. Wait there, let's go through my wait for my messages.
Oh,
to
here we
pop
go.
up.
I like this game.
Me to myself. It's the last message I got.
I love the Young Bucks.
Google verification.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, every day.
My wife. Sky telling me I'm out of mobile data.
Oh, I hate that.
Bad message.
PayPal security code and best pizza jarro. Probably the same as the last time we played the game. I got WhatsApp. I've got friends and
Nobody
family.
sends text anymore.
Yeah.
SMS just ain't it.
Yeah.
So descending order. Michael Hamflet.
Oh, what a botch.
0 hours, 40 minutes, 10 seconds.
What a botch.
Adam Wilborn, I don't know you from Adam. 1 hour, 19 minutes, 19 seconds. Michael Sidgwick, 1 hour, 21 minutes and 56 seconds. And I'm behind the 8 ball again, I think.
Yes. 1 hour, 10 minutes and 41 seconds, according to the Panda Blair himself, Adam Wilton, 4 on X, which leads me to lead Ladies' Night for 2024. 3 for me, 2 for Hamflet. 0 so far for the year for the Ladies' Night 2023 champion, but plenty of time to get back into it because they're not changing their plans anytime soon, are they?
Panda Blair. Adam Blair, we met him before, came to our live show. This one right here. This gimmick is working for me. But you know what I think it needs in time for WrestleMania? A Sammy Guevara Panda hat. Challenge laid down here.
Don't. He'll probably spunk his door on it.
Wear it over WrestleMania weekend.
Yes.
You get spotted in the crowd in one of them like sweeping vistas. They'd see the Panda hat straight away.
Or he could be spotted at our live show. It's Always Sunny at What Culture. Adam Blair already has his ticket. But if you want yours, you can head to whatculture.com/tickets. It goes down on the Sunday, day 2 of WrestleMania, basically. We are the meat in your WrestleMania sandwich. 12 p.m. at Underground Arts in Philadelphia. If you want to get tickets, as I said, whatculture.com/tickets. Yeah, we're in the women's section now because we, after the match, go backstage to Renee Paquette, who's there with Toni Storm, but she looks a little different. And that's because it's Mariah May as Toni Storm, like we got at the Pape. And then Timeless Toni
bit.
I love this bit, yeah. Cosplay proper got me and it shouldn't have done. On the pay-per-view, how has that fooled me? She doesn't look like that anymore.
A lot more so than me going, well, that's a dodgy cosplay of Sting. Oh, it's his son's. Okay, fair enough.
Wow, he got blonde hair and massive muscles for his retirement. Fair play, Stinger.
He got on the juice in 3 days or something.
Flexing pictures of his son, like in 1990 Sting. He's jacked.
He's jacked.
And yeah, Timeless Toni Storm asks Renee what season it is, and she's like, nearly spring. She's like, no, it's awards season. And on Rampage on Friday, she's going to present the first Tony Awards. And she presents Mariah May with her very first AEW shirt, which is Mariah May dressed as Toni Storm. And she says, don't worry, you're going to get a percentage of all sales. And does her chin up, tits out. And Mariah May does the watch out for the shoe line.
Proper AEW undercard wit, this. I'm really into this. The understudy stuff is
I hate
always,
how it has to get to the ring at some point.
it does a bit,
Everything she does is an affectation in the ring. And
it's not working, is it?
No.
Like, we haven't really talked about it. Sunday was poor.
I was
real disappointment.
My takeaway on that match on Sunday was even when you try and get into a wrestling story and you pierce through the veneer of that character and you tell the story of, right, well, it's Toni Storm and she tries to, not put it over, but she recognizes the skills and the threat of Deonna Purrazzo because she knows her intimately and they were really good friends. So she then decides to go, right, okay, well, I'll sort of dust off my technical game and I'll wrestle you at your game. Everything she does, like the old-timey British wrestling, it was still like an affectation.
Yeah.
It's still not a believable pro wrestling match. So I just didn't like it at all. And I just don't think we'll ever get a proper great match out of this Toni Storm character.
Because Mariah May would kick her ass at this point. The Toni Storm character would get the shit kicked out of her by Mariah May. That's almost what's stopping like her progression ultimately, is Toni Storm would rather keep her under her thumb a little bit. Hard to see Mercedes not just winning the belt straight away.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I know.
Everyone's saying it, and I think we're all thinking it a bit.
Renee Paquette is then backstage with Willow Nightingale and Stokely Hathaway, who said Statlander wanted to do her things her way out there tonight, but she's still one of the best in AEW and his favourite. He just wishes she'd accept help from those who love her the most. And Paquette informs them that Willow's going to take on Riho at Big Business. And Willow tells Hathaway they'll do things her way. She knows she can beat Riho, and she's got her sights set on Julia Hart and the TBS title. She's just got to get through Riho first.
Maybe she does cheat first. Maybe that's a bit of a twist in all of this.
Oh, God.
No,
this is not good.
It's not great, is it?
No.
Darby Allin, a lot of talk about him on social media over the last few days, comes out to the ring. Tony Schiavone welcomes him. He's got the tag title. He's got a bat in his hand. And Tony asks him what's it going to be like in AEW without Sting. And Darby Allin says, look, it's not going to be easy. 5 years ago, about 40 minutes from where we are right now, I was homeless. And then you cut to Sunday, and he's in the main event with Sting in his retirement match, giving Sting the farewell he deserved, which is quite right. Darby Allin's beat up, tired, sick of working with children. No, after his match with Switchblade Jay White, he's gonna take some time off, Sidge, and climb Mount Everest. He's speaking from the heart, though. He says, look, there's no guarantee he's going to come back alive from Mount Everest, so he thanks the crowd for giving him his dream. I'm really scared. So he says, look, if next week is my last ever match, I'll go out fighting for my life. But regarding the tag team titles, people are saying, why don't you defend it with a new partner? It's because he can't replace Sting, and he puts the title on the ground. Bullet Club Gold's music hits. Switchblade Jay White comes out, and he says, I didn't know if I was going to get the chance to talk to you again. He congratulated him face-to-face for a great night at Revolution. You sacrificed yourself to make sure Sting retired a champion. Although it was kind of stupid of you to jump off a ladder through some glass, and you left Sting to fight it all by himself against the Young Bucks. He only heard about it, though. He didn't watch it because he doesn't care. Sting's gone. He says, look, what are you? What is Darby Allin without Sting? You're a lost puppy without someone to feed him treats and hold his leash. We don't need to have this match next week, though. No one's going to think less of you for bailing after everything you've been through spiritually, physically, and emotionally. White said he's capable of doing much worse to Allin, and says, tell you what, why don't you just come and hang out with a Bang Bang Scissor Gang instead, and you can be Darby Scissorhands. And Darby cuts him off.
Diarrhea Darby.
Mm-hmm. And says, look at you, Jay White, you've won all these titles all over the world, and now you've, come to AEW to play with cardboard cutouts. I don't believe the hype. If you're as good as you think you are, why don't you come alone next week to your match? And then Darby whispers something in his ear. Jay talks to his boys, seems to turn around to possibly jump him, but he's got the bat in his neck, and that's the end of it for now.
A bit crap, this. A bit crap. Darby was great. Jay White wasn't. That is the reality for me. I might try and devise some kind of shorthand for, like, promos and, like, types of wrestlers who cut them. There's so real that you just believe literally everything they say, and you don't even think of them as a character. CM Punk, Eddie Kingston.
Mm-hmm.
There are wrestlers who are very obviously putting on an act. It's all an affectation. But they are nonetheless great at it. Timeless Toni Storm, Nicholas Jackson, that sort of ilk. There are people, so that's 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who try and do one, but can't do it, and Jay White's on that list. I don't believe a word he says. He's got performer voice.
Yeah.
He has got performer voice, and I just feel like he's playing at it rather than just effortlessly. It's very studious in everything he does, and there's a disconnect with me and Jay White. I've watched him. He's in one of my top 5 favorite matches ever, the Ibushi. Shouldn't have to qualify me saying someone's a bit mid in my eyes, but I try to be nice, and I try to really flesh out when I criticize someone, apart from my Hardy.
It's hard.
Jay White does performer voice, and I can never get past it.
Hard turn to make as well, having done all the wacky bollocks with Bang Bang Scissor Gang for the last month.
Yeah, this is transparently an attempt to give Jay White a win he needs at the expense of someone who should be losing. On the way out. You know what I mean? It's like this is scary.
Yes.
We can't get past the fact that the man might be. Well, we know what's going to happen.
This is Jay White's long-standing Twitter bit taken to the extreme, isn't it? You know, when like something happens in Bullet Club on New Japan, and he's like, "Catalyst strikes again." Like if like Darby Allin climbs Everest, and there's a picture of him. I beat him on the way out, so I climbed Everest.
Yeah,
the Catalyst Everest. Like you could just have that now, can you? Like,
Man's Catalyst.
I am with Sidge on this. I also don't like, because I don't mind the Bang Bang Scissor Gang. I think I'm the only one. Because I don't mind them. I was sort of, that's what I liked about it, was that Jay White was a bit of a fish out of water with these guys. Like, he's sort of on board with it. He gets that hand signals are pretty cool. Like, being a heel didn't work ultimately in his goal of winning the world title, so why not? And then if they're doing this thing where it's like, we need to drop it for a week because you need to be a heel against Darby Allin. You can't have your cake and eat it too. I was just starting to invest in Jay White, trying to get on board with frigging Billy Gunn of all people. And now it's like, oh no, now we're back to the Switchblade. Like, what is it really? He's going to have his Darby Allin.
What it is that we're talking about Okada and Osprey. How can they coexist? We're talking about Swerve, and can he withstand the challenge?
Yeah.
Indirectly set to him by Will Ospreay, and just how electrifying he is. Jay White's like down here.
Yeah.
In terms of like how over he got.
So they're doing the thing and giving him the Darby Allin match. So for 6 weeks, people will be like, see, Jay White's right there, he's ready.
Yeah.
Like, so was Andrade, so was Miro.
He's a performer.
Julia Hart and Sky Blue were backstage saying the worst feeling in the world isn't loneliness, it's being forgotten. And Willow seemingly forgotten who Julia Hart is. She's the queen of the Black Throne. And on Rampage, she's issuing an open house to remind anyone who the TBS champion is.
Yep, get her on the show.
And then we go from that to the House of Black, who are addressing Mark Briscoe, saying they'll fight fire with fire. Buddy says they're going to set him ablaze, and Brody King talks about his wars with the Briscoe brothers, leaving scars on their bodies they'll never forget.
So who's getting set on fire then?
I was thinking exactly that. Someone at a table or a body
It's
getting set on fire.
A flaming table. Who's going to take that? Maybe Malachi could get his right off that you once, allegedly.
Yes, Saturday on Collision, history repeats itself. Malachi said the pain Briscoe feels, they'll make sure it's surpassed in the pain they're going to inflict on him. King said to let him know if they need to dig one grave or three. And Julia Hart sings Johnny Cash, Burns, 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 Ring of Fire.
Yeah, House of Black going to do a shield bomb on Satnam Singh through a flaming table.
I mean, that could be absolutely incredible. I've got a prediction for that trios match.
Okay.
But I will save it for the preview.
Ah, yes. And we cut to Mark Briscoe immediately after this.
And I love him so much.
He says he doesn't need
Johnny
any...
Cash black guitar.
No.
Yeah, he's in. He's in.
I'm in.
He says it's something scare him. He doesn't need partners. He's hardcore. He'll face all three of them in an Atlanta street fight. But Jay Lethal walks in and says,
Philadelphia.
says he's got Briscoe's back. Briscoe said, please don't bring Jeff Jarrett. Lethal said, come on. Who better for a street fight than Jeff Jarrett? You don't have to trust him. You just have to fight by his side. You just have to trust Jay Lethal.
They've kind of farted around with this one quite a bit, haven't they? This Jay Lethal. Is he a nice guy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care about that.
No.
I do care about Mark Briscoe. House of Black. Probably lose again.
time for the big one.
Yeah.
Where's your magic powers gone again?
Yes, there's going to be bonkers stuff in this. Like I say, fire.
Team meeting afterwards. We've got to stop letting people choose their own rules.
Yeah.
It never works.
I've been set on fire now.
This is the one thing we didn't want to happen. Well, why did you make the house rules? You've got to set one of us on fire to win.
Main event time.
I love that they're a part of this. I really do.
It is Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay. Don Callis on commentary.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I feel bad. I've tried to cover this, but
You haven't started to try yet.
I know, but I've in my notes, and I was like, I'm
Oh,
going to miss one of the mad spots.
I
in
can't
there.
do it either.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise. Rather fast opening sequence from these two.
Surprise. Surprise, surprise.
Ospreay hits a Hurricane Rana and some hard chops, but Fletcher reverses a whip into the corner. And Ospreay's... Well, how would Ospreay say it? It wasn't his neck that was hurting, it was his back. Ow, my f***ing back! Crumples as we go to break.
Where's your pain, Will? It's behind me, innit?
Ospreay mounts a comeback during the break, hits a slingshot dive on Carl Fletcher.
It's me behind me. NXT, wherever you get your podcasts from. What Culture Wrestling?
Like this in a lot of ways, and then not at all.
Fletcher dodged an Oscar. Gets hit with a corner into going a brainbuster for two, and they shake hands, but neither of them let go, and they just start chopping the crap out of each other, and Ospreay gets dropped, but he comes back with a rolling elbow and a hook kick. Fletcher again counters an Oscar into a power bomb, only Ospreay counters that into a DDT. He wants the hidden blade, but Fletcher has got eyes in the back of it. He dodges it, Corner snake eyes into the middle buckle. They roll to the apron. Fletcher wants a tombstone, but Osprey gets out of it. Hook kick. Cutter on the edge of the ring. They go to another break. This time when we come back, they're trading forearms, and Osprey switches to chops. And Callis said he felt like a proud older brother of these men. Shivani said, yeah, much older brother. They trade sort of tombstone attempts. Osprey hits...
It's got a popper in a money.
Yeah. Osprey hits a wild poison rana.
He's measured these two matches really well, Callis.
Yeah, no.
Because we know what he's thinking and where he's going to go, but
Yeah.
he's done quite a good job of it.
They fight on the top, and Fletcher tries an avalanche dragon suplex, but Osprey lands on his feet. Fletcher charges at him, gets hit with a Liger bomb for 2. Fletcher spins out of a Stormbreaker into a butterfly driver, I think it was, followed by a sit-out last ride for 2. Fletcher hits a kick in the corner, tries for a top rope brainbuster. Osprey slides out of that, though, and hits the cheeky Nando's kick and an avalanche poison rana, a hidden blade as well that just lays out Fletcher, but he kicks out at 2. Fletcher comes back with a thrust kick. Osprey hits a Spanish fly and an Cutter. Again, Fletcher kicks out, but all he can do is rise up to his knees and just go... Go on then, finish me off, and Osprey.
The old Buff Bagwell.
It's the best face of all time, man.
Osprey, takes his head off with another hidden blade, gets the 1, 2, 3. There's a nice show of respect afterwards as Osprey and Callis, I suppose, check on Carl Fletcher post-match when whose music hits? Michael Sidgwick. But Bryan Danielson's...
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
And we just get a brief stare down between the two of them as the show closes.
Like, he's unbelievable. This is probably, right, if you want to be... It's difficult to analyze these matches because when they're done, it's like, it's the 5th Big Mac. I'm like, it's not as good as the first, but it's still amazing.
Yeah.
It's still amazing. I don't really feel like that nourished or, full. It's the 5th Big Mac. And Big Macs are absolutely goated. So is Will Ospreay. It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, even the story in this match, you could argue, was kind of flawed. It's kind of a big emotional showdown on a second week. The idea is that he's sort of allowing people to kick out the hidden blade at 2, 1 and then 2 on week 1 and 2. It's excess. It's a total sensory overload, and it's still amazing. And it'll still be effective. I know this in 2 years. It breaks every rule. It breaks every single rule of it being too much and it being too excessive because it's just too unbelievably electrifying. Like, even, you could argue, this is I'm Sorry I Love You wrestling, and I don't want to hurt my friend that much. But at the same time, it's better than that because it's Will Ospreay.
Even that's illogical because it's like, oh, mate, don't punch me on the back really hard. Drill me with 55 Germans from the top rope.
Yeah.
Don't hit me. That's not on. Like, this is a gentleman's contest. It's like, and then there's super moves. Like, do 20 times the damage that a punch would.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, but they can do the super moves, so let's watch them do the super moves.
Yeah. And like there's that bit at the end where it's I'm Sorry I Love You pill the bait, but it's not that melodramatic. It's like, I know because I refuse to lose to you, you're gonna have to like concuss us here. Just do it. Like, even they make me a massive hypocrite every single time. These kinds of wrestlers, Ospreay in particular, just makes me a total monumental hypocrite because it's so electrifying. Like, even before like the ridiculous stuff they were doing later, like that springboard poison avalanche rana. Like, are you joking? It looks amazing. It looks amazing. Everything else that looks vaguely like it in any promotion just looks crap. Retire. You cannot be as good at this style as him. I talk about intent a lot. My least favorite thing in wrestling is when the wrestler knows their opponent's about to duck a clothesline, so they'll do that one. They'll lift their arm over their shoulder in a like an N shape rather than
Arches
just
it over,
rather than trying to do that in the other person. I hate it so much; it takes me out of it. There is an Ospreay kick, and because it's Ospreay. The 4th time he does that back kick, Kyle Fletcher eventually gets it. He ducks, and it's like the trust they have in each other because it's like oof. Like, if he is not ducking in time with how much he puts behind it, it's going to take his head off. So away from the intent, then the actual insane execution when they do the moves. That even earlier, there's like, was it a dragon or a half and half suplex that Ospreay takes, I think within the first 5 minutes, I don't think I've ever seen a bump like this from a suplex. It's like, when you flush an airplane toilet, it's almost scary. Because what if you sat down? Will my guts explode through my asshole? That's my biggest fear. What if something sets it off?
Nobody press that button.
But it's
My pants are on my ankles here. Kills all.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What if it's trapped down there and I forgot to lift it back out?
When the indie guys, the hipster indie guys were coming up with wacky names like sliced bread or whatever. Imagine the airplane toilet suplex.
The airplane
feels like
toilet.
something like an old PWG name, wouldn't it? Because of how quickly it sucks you down.
But that's the fastest thing I can think of.
Yeah.
Of the water's there and then it's faster than it clicks. So where's that gone? Where's my arsehole was on there? It's scary. That's how Ospreay bumps. And that's how he bumped for this. It's ridiculous.
Well, we're not touching an analogy as good as that this year. No. So you've picked I'll think of
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
I'll think of an airplane toilet every time Ospreay bumps like that. Every single time I will think of toilet paper and rapidly sort of descending out of the back arse of the airplane.
I'll get a...
It's like an effect, though. It's here 1 minute, gone the next.
Yeah.
I'll get a toilet flush on an airplane sound effect for the soundboard that we can use for Osprey's bumping.
I can't really add much to the match because I don't want to come across as some jaded Ospreay cynic. Why I thought this was better than the...
Be their voice. They exist.
It's every bit...
Be truthful. That's all we do on this podcast.
Mm-hmm. It is every bit as amazing as Sidgwick has articulated in a way that I could never. And I don't feel amazed because I expect it. That's both Will Ospreay's blessing and his curse, I guess. I want this from Will Ospreay match and anything less, and one day that might come. If he wrestles every week on television, there might be a week where that wasn't 6. Come on, Will. That's an unfair expectation that you set, but ultimately that's part of breaking the rules, isn't it? Is that now there are no rules, and this lawless wrestling world that Will Ospreay occupies means that some weeks he might disappoint despite having a better match than 95% of wrestling. Yeah, but this is the thing.
He's a machine.
He just doesn't.
He's an animal.
So yet we watch. I can't but I like this more than
every match is an audition.
Because I think one of the tricks with Will Ospreay for me personally, my experience of him as a wrestler is going to be, what have I got? It's that Triple H promo thing. What's the link between them? Why can't X do this to Y? Why can't Ospreay do this? Why is it an imposition, a transgression if a wrestler does this to him in particular? That's going to come because there's going to be different little individual stories with different wrestlers. And to my point earlier on about the Elite and all the matches you were setting up, to then go, and here's Bryan Danielson. Again, it's that wrestling...
Oh my God.
Wrestling face and wrestling forward build. They will tell you that Bryan just didn't really cut it as a draw in WWE. They will tell you that wrestling in general is never going to bring the people in. And AEW has this problem with not bringing the people in, but they are not going to care. Mm-hmm. They're going to tell you that it's the best match we have, so you're getting it next month. And these ones that the Elite were talking about, you're going to get that the month after. And when we're at Wembley, you're probably going to get this. Do that. And over time, over a long period of time, the feeling will appear. So will the S's in the seats, because people will remember what all of this is for. And I love that. I absolutely love that. This is the best foot forward, even if for a long time it doesn't look it. Mm-hmm. The challenge with Ospreay is it's Will Ospreay versus Will Ospreay. At what point might these matches not connect with people? I don't know when or if that will ever come, because this is pretty much how he rose through the ranks in New Japan. You could see him developing psychologically as a wrestler, but he never, AJ Styles is a good example. AJ Styles in early TNA makes you feel like these Ospreay, you cannot, a cartoon eye popping out, right? And then as he gets a bit older and a bit wiser, he just starts dropping a few things that are obviously riskier and saving them for the big occasions. He kind of mastered that in New Japan and then bastardized it a bit in WWE, because you almost never get the stuff. And then every now and then he's like, Christ, AJ's still got one of them in him. But it's one every 6 years versus one every couple of months in New Japan versus every week in TNA.
Every time.
You watch that, and every wrestler like that develops like that because they have to, right?
Yes.
Ospreay just gets better at the psychology stuff and then hoys the moves in anyway. It is, and again, it's because I've seen them all. I still can't distinguish much between Ospreay matches depending on the opponent he's working. So I think of Omega and I think of the people that he's wrestled where it's why does that matter more? Because Will Ospreay is the common denominator, so it must be the person he's wrestling. It's a blessing as a curse, as I say, but he's the world champion elect until anyone's better than him. And that's a good position to be in. We've talked about Swerve being undeniable. there's a bit of pro wrestling magic there, and sometimes the characters on the rise and the promos are hitting, and just the music, the dance, all of it is like sometimes they make themselves undeniable. Osprey is wrestling like an undeniable force of nature, and nobody can touch him really.
No.
What an ending to this show. Let us know your thoughts on it in the comment section below or on X at WhatCultureWWE. Watch, they can follow all three of us. You can follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett.
Follow Michael Sidgwick at
M. Sidgwick.
Follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at What Culture WWE. As I said, make sure you subscribe to What Culture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. Me and Sidge will be back tomorrow, of course, to preview AEW Collision. But for now, this has been the Dynamite Review. My thanks to Hamlet Sidgwick. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.